Drive with Bill Cameron on ESPN 106.7 and online at ESPNAU.com.
Very pleased to be joined, as we are each week, by Coach Gene Stallings. Coach, how you doing today?
Bill, I'm doing fine, and what a great win Auburn had this past weekend. That excited me to see somebody that could run the football the way that they did. And if they have a good game against Ole Miss, which I think they will, that'll really make a big game when Alabama and Auburn plays, and that's where it ought to be.
Oh, there's no question. And Coach, we've been racking our brains and talking with folks. You know, I've been watching Auburn football for quite a while. Coach Dye was in yesterday. Saw that David Housel said that Kenny Howard, the longtime trainer who's been at Auburn since 1945, said he had not seen a game where Auburn was as dominant as they were last week. I mean, they scored on their very first play of the game and never looked back and just dominated from the opening snap till the final second of the ball game, and that's rare.
Well, and it's always been my philosophy and belief that in order to win football games, you got to run the football, stop the run, bend the plus and give away, take away, be a good third down team, and you're going to win 70-80% of your games. And Auburn obviously ran the ball extremely well. Arkansas didn't run it hardly at all. I think made 25 yards, and they were in the plus, give away, take away, and that's a good formula for winning games. And I just hope to do the same thing against Ole Miss, and I think they will.
Well, Ole Miss, has been they're a dangerous team offensively. Chad Kelly is a gunslinger, and they've scored points on everybody. Last week against LSU is the only time they haven't hit the 30-point mark. But their defense has, they've had trouble stopping teams, especially stopping the run, and that usually would bode well as and most coaches will say, defense and the running game travel pretty well.
Yeah, that's Alabama, for example. They ran for 287 yards, and A&M ran for 114, and Alabama won the football game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why people get into the passing mode. Texas Tech played Oklahoma last week, and Lord have mercy, I can't tell you how many yards were in that particular game. But anyway, it wasn't much of a defensive game, I'll assure you.
No, you're not kidding. Well, you look at the standings now, and things are starting to shape up a little bit. I mean, you've got the West looking like, once again, they're the superior division in the Southeastern Conference. And, you were talking about Auburn, but we'll find out a little more about LSU when they play Alabama next week. But they've surely played a lot better since Coach O's taken over. Well,
the team that I've always been concerned about, other than Auburn, is LSU.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got the talent. They just hadn't really, for whatever reason, put it together. Got an outstanding running back, and they got some players with some size. You know, Alabama has got big, strong, fast players, and most people that they play, they just got better personnel.
Right.
Than the opponent. But I think LSU can pretty well match them, and it's the night game in Baton Rouge, and that'll be a good football game. That'll be a fun one to watch.
You know, and we'll talk more about it next week, but, it's crazy the dominance that Alabama has had in Baton Rouge in this series.
Well, yeah, I know when I was coaching there, I never did lose to LSU in Baton Rouge, and before that, Alabama won in Baton Rouge and lost in Alabama. Yeah. But sometimes those things really they're just to be talked about. They don't have really any bearing on the game. But most of the time, you'd rather play at home in front of your home crowd.
Well, now this week you mentioned Auburn, Ole Miss. You've got Georgia, Florida. They're trying to call it the River City Showdown, I believe. Now, I can't wrap my head around that, but
that's going to be a big game.
Oh yeah,
there's no question about that. And there's several. Clemson and Florida State is going to be a big game. Michigan and Michigan State, Washington and Utah.
Well, you've got the seven unbeaten teams that are playing are all on the road this weekend.
Yeah, and you want to be one of the top 4 teams to make the playoffs to have a chance to win the championship. And in the Southeastern Conference, you got to be in that championship game, and that's what everybody's trying to do. And it looks like Auburn is they've got a possibility, and Alabama's got a possibility, and Florida's
LSU
got a
still
possibility.
does.
LSU's got a possibility. So, but that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it exciting when you're a spectator. Not all that much fun when you're coaching, but as a spectator, it makes it fun.
No question about it. Well, Alabama with a weekend off. I mean, everything about Alabama's season thus far has been extremely impressive. But to make it through an 8-week grind, through 8 games with no open dates, and then the last 3 the way they did, you've just got to really take your hat off and be very impressed with what Coach Saban and the Tide has done to get to this point through that, especially that rugged last three-game stretch at the end of an 8-game streak.
Well, they've got better players than most people. For example, that freshman quarterback. He can play for anybody, and they'll be an improved football team. But you put him with the people that they have at Alabama, that just makes them that much tougher. They've done an outstanding job recruiting for the past several years. You take good players that are well coached, that's a tough combination to beat. But they still got they've got LSU and they got Auburn to play, and it's going to be an exciting ending to the season, really.
No question about it. Coach, we really appreciate it. Enjoy it every time we get a chance to talk to you. Anything you've got special planned for the weekend?
Well, I've got a son-in-law that's coaching at SMU.
How about that big win last week?
Was that not big? I mean, they beat University of Houston and beat them bad.
Oh, yeah.
I watched that game. I was there, and that wasn't a fluke. University of Houston was number 11 ranked team in the country, and SMU's lost a few games, and if they can beat Tulane this week and beat a couple more, then they'll be bowl eligible. And
what a great story that'd be.
Leaps and bounds, really.
Yeah, it's it's really a shame. Ever since the death penalty, that has shown the NCAA should never do that again, because it set them back for decades.
Well, but that's they've gone through a period of time when they just didn't recruit very well. They had a coach, and there's enough players right around Dallas-Fort Worth there. You don't have to go to Florida and California and various places try to get players, but that's sort of what Chad's trying to do. Another game in this part of the country is going to be a big one. Is Baylor at Texas.
Oh, you're right.
Texas is not they hadn't been doing as well, and they're playing Baylor, and Baylor's undefeated, and they have a very explosive team, so that'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, an awful lot of talk about coaches going on down there in your state as well. So we'll see.
Okay, well, listen, you guys have a great week, and it was just a super win for Auburn, and hopefully do the same thing against Ole Miss.
Coach, we appreciate it. You have a great weekend, too.
Thank you.
Coach Gene Stallings joining us as he does each Thursday here on The Drive.